He would join them in calling me names like ugly loser or hairy monkey, and encourage the bullies to physically harm me, because, according to him, I was just a big failure. Another time, we had a fight about something I can't remember, but it was probably something silly, and at the end of the fight, he told me to kill myself. Other insults I could brush off easily, but that one really hurt because I was struggling with my mental health during that time. I'm doing better now, it just sucked to hear that my own brother wanted me to die. Dad was often at work, and Mom didn't seem to care much. She even scolded me once, claiming it was my fault for playing and irritating him. Things got progressively worse. There was a time he attempted to burn my hair when we were in high school, and shockingly, Mom sided with him, insisting he was just playing. Who plays like that, seriously? Fortunately, Dad eventually took my side and pointed out that they had some serious issues. He threatened to call the police on Caleb. This was an eye-opening moment for my brother because, until then, he had never been reprimanded for any of his actions. He was really taken aback, and my dad continued to tell him how enough was enough and that he needed to start respecting his older brother. Later, Dad came into my room and talked to me. I had never expected my dad to support me because he always told Caleb while he was growing up how similar both of them were, which was true. Dad told me that he had patiently waited for years for Caleb to grow up, thinking maybe he was just being an immature kid, but he was slowly starting to realize that Caleb was becoming a big bully. When I heard my dad say this, I felt so validated that I almost broke down in tears. I confessed to my dad everything that Caleb had done to me over the years and even opened up about the bullying in school. My dad was shocked that I was going through so much. The next day, he went and talked to the principal, so my bullies could be warned about severe consequences if they continued. Later in the evening, my dad enrolled me in mixed martial arts at our local gym, and he told me that I needed to man up and stand up to bullies in my life. I will admit that a nerdy kid like me trying to learn to fight must have been laughable to watch. However, like everything in my life, I am very focused when I want to learn something. I carved out time for my studies so I could work out every day and go to the mixed martial arts classes. Not to brag, but it completely changed my life and my physique. One day, Caleb was at it again. He had stolen my pocket money, which we used to get if we helped our parents with doing chores. I had been saving my money for quite some time. Caleb had sneaked into my room and taken my money. I caught him when he was about to cycle off with his friends. I firmly told him to give me back my money since he knew stealing was wrong, but Caleb snickered and taunted that all I could do was run to Daddy for help. I don't know what came over me, but I gave Caleb a resounding punch to his face. He was stunned into silence as he fell backwards on the ground. I picked him up and took out my money from his trouser pocket, and then threw him back down on the ground. Caleb started to cry loudly like a little baby. It was comical to see a teenage boy crying on the ground. However, my mother came running out the door, hearing her baby boy, to help him up and find out what had happened. When she learned that I had fought with him, she was surprised and then started to reprimand me. She told me that as an older brother, I should teach better things to Caleb. While Caleb seemed to be enjoying seeing me being chastised, my mother also complained to my dad about how I had beat Caleb up and how I needed to be controlled. My dad grimly asked both of us to explain ourselves. I told him how Caleb had stolen the money that I had worked hard for and saved up, while Caleb attempted to justify how he needed the money for a date and that, as my brother, I should help him. However, Dad told Caleb that he was lucky that I just punched him for stealing my money because anyone else would have called the police on him. My dad continued to tell Caleb how he had no right to take others' things without their consent. Caleb didn't like that and started to throw a tantrum, probably wanting our mother to side with him, but Dad remained firm. When Caleb realized that I was not going to be punished for punching him, he screamed how much he hated me and then ran back into his room and locked himself in. Since that incident, Caleb maintained his distance from me. He had finally realized that he could not bully me anymore, and even Dad was not supporting his antics. For the first time in a long time, I felt we were equals. Even though he could not physically hurt me, he would try to verbally say nasty things to me when he knew our parents would not be around. It definitely got worse as he got older. It felt like each year he became angrier and had a shorter fuse. If I approached him to ask something, he would simply ignore me to my face and walk away out of the room, calling me a nerd or a loser under his breath. If he wanted to say something to me, he would only go through our mother, who would relay the message. I would question my mother as to why Caleb could not just talk to me if he wanted something, and she would implore me to be more understanding. I had no clue if this was just him going through puberty, and I had to wait it out, or if he actually truly hated me. I used to be able to deal with the things he would say over the years, but it got to a point where I just wanted to move out of home to get away from him. I would go to my mother countless times, asking if she could mediate a sit-down conversation for all of us to talk it out, but she always refused, saying she didn't want to get involved. I even asked for her opinion on why he treated me that way, but she would just brush off the question. Eventually, I went away to my dream university since I was a grade A student and was even qualified for a scholarship. My dad threw a party for me, and my mom seemed proud of me also. However, Caleb remained aloof and distant, barely acknowledging my achievements. The day I left for university was a mix of excitement for the future and relief to escape the toxic environment at home. The first few months at university were liberating. I made new friends, enjoyed my classes, and started to build a life separate from the oppressive atmosphere I had experienced growing up. The constant fear of Caleb's verbal attacks lifted, and I felt a newfound sense of peace. I began dating my wife Karen when we were both in the second year of our university. My friend introduced us at a frat party, and we clicked right away. Coming from a religious family, having kids without being married was a big no-no. However, we found out she was pregnant when we were in the last year of our university, which prompted us to get married as soon as we graduated.